At Lockheed Martin, our why is found in connecting, protecting, and exploring. It propels our purpose from the moon to distant planets and the stars beyond. We've been a part of every NASA sample return mission, every NASA Mars mission, and we are building the spacecraft that will carry humans to the moon and on to Mars. At Lockheed Martin, your mission is ours.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our next segment of the AAS Glenn Symposium. My name is Jim Way. I'm the Executive Director of the American Astronautical Society. So great to have you all here. This segment is generously sponsored by Lockheed Martin. So to do the introduction of our speaker, I'd like to turn it over to Kirk Shireman, Vice President of the Lockheed Martin Lunar Exploration Campaign, a position he's held since joining Lockheed Martin in 2020. Kirk, over to you.
Hey, good morning. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. It's my distinct pleasure today to introduce our keynote speaker, a longtime friend and colleague, NASA's Associate Administrator of Space Technology Mission Directorate, Jim Ryder. Jim's career has touched upon almost every human exploration, transportation, and habitation system since the Apollo era. Sorry, Jim, that's a long time, I know, but what a great career you've had. And he's absolutely a dedicated civil servant. I could read off all the awards he's received, but then Jim wouldn't get a chance to talk, so I won't do that. I did want to point out too that Jim received a Silver Snoopy Award for outstanding performance contributing to flight safety and mission success of a human spaceflight mission. This is a really special recognition at NASA, awarded by the NASA's Astronaut Corps. So clearly, Jim has made a significant contribution over his career towards human spaceflight. Today, Jim supports a portfolio that intersects across all of NASA's spaceflight missions. He's chartered with developing transformative space technologies to enable NASA's future missions. He has overseen the growth of NASA's newest directorate, both in sheer breadth of activities and in the resources provided to accomplish this cross-agency mission. Early this year, for example, we celebrated the incredible landing of Perseverance rover on Mars, a feat that, of course, we here at Lockheed Martin were very proud to be part of. You may not have known, though, that SDMD had a demo on that flight, or has a demo called MOXIE. So not too long after landing, MOXIE actually first ever extracted oxygen from the carbon dioxide of the Martian atmosphere, a really key technology for the future of human exploration of Mars. And then there's STMD's Deep Space Atomic Clock demo mission on orbit right now, which is adapting this technology so spacecraft can navigate even farther and more independently from Earth in deep space. This clock's so accurate that it only loses a second, 1 second every 10 million years. I have no idea how you know that, but I'm waiting to see it lose a second. So I look forward to seeing that day. Back here on Earth, though, STMD is demonstrating another technology about green alternatives to traditional chemical propulsion systems with its green propellant infusion mission. And these are just 3 examples, and they only scratch the surface of all the things that STMD and Jim are doing. So thanks, Jim, for your efforts and the work that everyone in your directorate is doing to help ensure America's global leadership in space and space technology continues on into the future. So without further ado, let me introduce our speaker here, NASA's Associate Administrator, Jim Ryder. Jim?
Hi, Kirk, and thank you so much for that introduction. You know, having a chance to talk to you just before we got on here and kind of reminisce from where we were. We used to work together quite closely in the mid 90s, early 2000s with the International Space Station. And, you know, to some extent, when I think about that, it seems like that's 3 lifetimes ago. And other times it seems like it's yesterday. But that was a fantastic part of my career, and you've done just an outstanding job leading the ISS for a number of years and on to great things now at Lockheed. I just want to thank also the AAS before I start. And they always put on outstanding programs. I enjoy working with Jim Way and the folks that they have, and Marla at Glenn, just a fantastic group. And this is a great event. It's been a privilege of mine to be able to be an active participant in all 3 symposiums of the Glenn Symposium since it's begun. we're looking forward to next year, maybe be in person again, hopefully. And I look at the theme of this year's symposium, and I particularly like the theme of less rigid boundaries between sectors of the aerospace community, the capabilities and skills and technologies that are utilized across the applications. That's very similar to what we try to do in space tech, is really break down those barriers, and we'll talk about that a little more as we go on. And I also looked at the program, I'll say, and I think there's lots of great sessions starting, with the first session after this talk will be finding a balance on space commercialization, and then all the way wrapping up Thursday afternoon with a discussion on autonomy and traffic management. So hopefully everyone can stick around, and it's going to be a great few days. So then what I thought I would do is just talk a little bit about what we do in NASA Space Tech. So if we could have my charts, please. And go ahead and go to the next chart. This is just characterizing our space technology portfolio. What we span the technology readiness level of responsibilities for developing technologies all the way across the technology readiness levels, from what we call early stage innovation to, which are basically, some people call it basic or applied research, but we don't quite have those kind of boundaries, but very similar in concept to that. Going into the laboratory, mid TRL levels and high technology levels of technology demonstrations, and also what we call capability demonstrations of technologies we infuse on a mission. Say the solar electric propulsion system for the Gateway. Its first time use will be it will be implemented, not just demonstrating the technology. Our early stage, and what I like to say about our portfolio is the thing that's our strength is the breadth of what we do. We have a large number, we span the entire spectrum of technology readiness. And what we try to do is look at ways that we can utilize the entire each of these programs to achieve a common goal for some key technology or something, and that really helps us a lot. Our early stage innovation, you can see, is mostly research grants for universities, also some in-house activities, and NIAC, one of our favorite programs, where basically you show up with a great idea, a revolutionary idea, and don't violate the laws of physics. We run the tech transfer office for the agency. We do most of the prizes and challenges for the agency. We run the SBR and programs for the agency. And we have a game-changing development program that includes what we call a Lunar Surface Innovation Initiative that I'll talk about in a few charts. And then it's all the way up to demonstrating technologies on missions, including flight opportunities of small spacecraft. And just to highlight a couple things, what we try to do in the early stage innovation is keep that set at about 8% of our total budget. And so that way, as our budget fluctuates or is able to grow, it typically will grow on the higher TRL stuff, but you don't want to lose the seed corn and the technology demonstrations in the early stage. So by keeping a metric like that, it helps us maintain that capability and growth. I said we do most surprises and challenges. We actually have 16 active challenges right now, many of which are multi-million dollars. One including a challenge we called and just finished phase 1 recently, Watts on the Moon, which is Glenn Research Center is a key part of that. And as you might expect, it's looking at ways using the community, a community that we don't necessarily reach all the time. Is with challenges you can tend to reach a broader audience, and looking at ways for distributing power basically and storing power on the moon. I mentioned our technology maturation. Our game-changing program now has over 120 projects, predominantly industry and NASA led, and 70% of those are partnerships and collaborations across industry, academia, and other government agencies. We have a number of initiatives across our portfolio to improve our equity and STEM engagement postures. I won't get into all of them here. Actually, I could probably talk 20 minutes on that alone. But we're really trying to push hard for that as a government-wide thing as well. There is a public meeting, in fact, that we're having today at NASA on mission equity and some of the responses that we got from an RFI recently. And also, as another example, we have worked a couple of programs with the STEM engagement folks. One that's called MSTAR, it's MUREP Space Technology Artemis R. I've forgotten what the R is. Research planning, that's what it is. anyways, it's a grants program that we're working with them. It's a new time program, and we're hope within the next day or two we should announce several winners, several selections of MUREP type qualified universities. Anyways, well, it's 2 years, 2 years learning grant as we go through it. The other thing I'd say is, I want to say on this part is I wanted to put a plug in for our home organization here for this conference, Glenn Research Center. Like I said, we really try to look across our programs, really try to push collaboration. And Glenn just really exemplifies that approach as well as any NASA center that we have. They have something like 200 technology development projects, lead over 15 of those significant lead over significant projects, and participation in something like, we have this annual call or roughly annual call for tipping points and an announcement of collaborative opportunities, which are public-private partnerships, and they're part of 10 of the last 30 or so that we just named. If you go to the next chart, please. I want to touch a little bit on then our what we call our strategic technology framework. This is how the framework that we use to develop and determine which technologies to invest in and prioritize. Anyways, what we have is what we call 4 strategic thrusts. They're listed there across the top: rapid, safe, and efficient space transportation, which we call GO; expanded access to diverse surface destinations, which we call LAND; sustainable living and working farther from Earth, which we call LIVE; and transformative missions and discoveries, which we call Explore. So if you want to know our strategy for investments, it's GO, LAND, LIVE, Explore, with an overarching lead, ensuring American global leadership in space technology is our objective. This chart, I won't go into too much detail. So what we've done is taken those strategic thrusts, those 4 technology thrusts, if you will, and in each case, we've identified outcomes that we're trying to achieve. With 15 different outcomes defined, and for those outcomes, then we've determined what capabilities do we need to meet those outcomes. And there's something like 17 of those capabilities that we have. And they're highlighted on this chart in the little circles and color-coded to match the thrusts. We're also trying to show is that on our overall objective going from Earth to Moon to Mars, with the Moon being a proving ground for Mars, what we're trying to depict is some of the things we do, such as advanced propulsion, nuclear propulsion, or nuclear activities, are things that you don't necessarily need the Moon to get there, and since that's farther along, it's not as high of a priority as something where we need and want to demonstrate on the surface. But other things, the proving ground of the Moon is just essential. A lot of those we've grouped into what we call the Lunar Surface Innovation Initiative, and we'll talk about that in an upcoming chart. Next chart. This is a bunch of highlights of different technologies, activities that we have, and the plans for 2021 to 2022. It's just a hodgepodge. It's a selection of types of things we do. We have over 1,400 active projects right now. Over 140 of them are leading towards flight demonstrations. So this is, just a fraction of those. But I did want to highlight a couple things on it. And I'll just start at the top. I'm not going to talk about every single thing, but I guess over in the upper right, Kurt already mentioned that we have the MOXIE and we've demonstrated now 3 times, I believe, of generating oxygen from the Martian atmosphere. But we also had 3 other technologies we delivered. They're listed there. And the other one I'll highlight for today is the terrain relative navigation. It basically uses maps on board. It used maps on board compared to the real-time images that it received, and determined a safe landing point. And it was actually that technology that enabled us to be able to go to the Jezero crater as a landing site in the middle of quite a bit of hazards, but also a highly interesting spot for science missions. And what I'll say is it performed flawlessly, as MOXIE has. To date, for TRN, for the terrain relative navigation, it I think converged on a solution within 10 seconds and 1 try, and it landed just where it needed to. We also have flight opportunities and small spacecraft programs. We have, it's kind of more like 50, something like 30 some flight ops this fiscal year planned for our flight opportunities program. It's a suborbital program, and small spacecraft, we have another 30 or so of demonstrating number of technologies. And what I'll say there is we've got, for the flight opportunities, we've got 12 active commercial partners, and including one just Virgin Galactic, which of course had their very successful flight here on Sunday, and on there we had one of our a payload on there that they helped perform. So we're excited about that, and looking forward again to, as we go forward to on July 20th, or when Blue Origin is targeting for their flight with first human flight. We do allow through our programs the potential for human-tended payloads, and our call for tech flights just came out. That included that, and we last year we picked 31 technologies. We'll hopefully do something fairly substantial again this year, and it's really a great program for us as we're going forward. Other things, Carl Fluid Management. I bet for 20, 30 years that we're just a little investment away from being able to operate long-term storage in space for cryogenics, and it's a critical technology for us. We're going to Mars for advanced landers, potentially for the moon, and a number of in-space vehicles. And so we've got four flight demos that we have targeted right now, and getting started on those. Capstone is a mission of a small CubeSat, a 12U CubeSat. That's going to be the first demonstration of going into and out of the NRHO orbit that the Gateway is planned for. Really back in summer of 2019, August or so timeframe, we said, why we're highly confident in operating in that orbit, but we've never actually done so and coming in and out of the orbit. So we said, why don't we develop a small spacecraft mission to do that? And it's now almost ready to be launched, and should be this fall. Let's see, I'll talk about a couple others. We heavily use the Eclipse missions, the commercial lunar payload services missions that SMD sponsors. We have basically as part of their Prisms call and our Tipping Point call, that combination introduced us to able to get a really interesting mission by Intuitive Machines. It combines a Hopper mission with a 4G LTE network from Nokia, and operating for the first time the Prime 1 drill. So this will be a precursor to which, for drill for water, there'll be a precursor to the Viper, the planned Viper demonstration that SMD is leading. We have missions that are what we call on-orbit servicing, assembly, and manufacturing, and we have two large missions that we're going towards critical design review right now, and they're going along very well. And I'll say Deep Space Optical Communications is a demonstration that we have on the Psyche mission for Science Mission Directorate. We've delivered our unit now for integration into the Psyche spacecraft with an August 22 launch. And I think I'll stop there, but I could go on for quite a while just talking some of the key activities we have. Next chart. Also with that, this is a big time for us, and I think for the nation, broader than just our government, our agency, but across our government, for really pursuing nuclear propulsion and nuclear power activities. We have an announcement to make. It just came out in a press release this morning, that in coordination with the Department of Energy, we selected 3 reactor design concept proposals for our nuclear thermal propulsion system. The contracts will have basically a 1-year duration using FY21 funds to fund the development and technology maturation of various design strategies. We have 3 selections that we've made. The first on this list is Bwx Technologies of Lynchburg. They will lead the design and development of the reactor. Lockheed Martin will contribute to systems engineering, instrumentation, and engine interface. General Atomics is the second one, of San Diego. The company's nuclear propulsion research dates to the 1950s. Their reactor design uses past project elements. They will partner with X Energy LLC and Aerojet Rocketdyne. And then finally, Ultrasafe Nuclear Technologies, USNC Tech of Seattle, that they'll team with their parent corporation, Blue Origin, General Electric, Hitachi Nuclear Energy, General Electric Research, Framatome, and Materion. They're going to define a reactor concept called, with technology improvement studies, high fidelity analyses, and fuel technology maturation efforts. So we're looking forward to these three things. And I will say, DARPA is working also on what they call the DRACO program, and we're very well integrated with these. And these three fit with well in timing with the activities that they have going on with their Blue Origin, Lockheed Martin, and General Atomics contracts that they have. So our intent is to work even more closely as we go forward, and we can see lots of ways that we can jointly go forward. The other thing I'll say is, and this one especially hits home here at Glenn, is we're also working on to mature a fission surface power system for use on Moon and Mars. Our project is based at Glenn, and we're intending, now that we've got this one started, basically a forthcoming request for proposals will ask similar things for industry preliminary designs of a 10 kilowatt class system for fission surface power that we could demonstrate on the lunar surface. Since this is a near term activity, and it really is fundamentally one that's ready to go towards flight demonstration, it's our priority when you look at our budget activities, but they complement each other very well. Next chart. I just have a short discussion on the Lunar Surface Innovation Initiative. We're very proud of this activity. It's something that we basically had the kickoff on February 28th of 2020, just before the world changed. But what we've done since then is this is, as I said, this is looking at helping us initiate technology developments for lunar surface and helping to provide a sustainable lunar presence. The idea of this LSII it includes 6 focus areas that are listed there that we're going to focus on. We have participation from across 400 organizations across 48 states now in Puerto Rico to advance technologies. And then what we call a Lunar Surface Innovation Consortium that we established there on that first day, February of 2020. And the idea is to facilitate communication between commercial, academic, government, and nonprofit sectors to advance the goals of these focus areas. We have planned for what we've had is twice a year we have a full committee consortium meeting, and on a monthly basis we have task groups that are developing activities or developing concepts in these areas. The idea behind the consortium is to gain that input so that when we have our other solicitations, it informs our solicitations as we go on, and really help us as we're going forward. It's a way we're trying to generate interest across the nation into a sustainable presence, and really understand what our communities need in order to have a sustainable commercial presence as well. Next chart. And like I said at the beginning, we like to say that our strength of our organization is the breadth, and what we try to do is look at all our programs to establish attack a problem as we go through it. In this case, this is just a reflection of our collaboration highlights that we've had across our general portfolio for lunar surface innovation initiatives. And over the last little over a year, we've awarded about $200 million over a broad range of programs to establish collaborations with industry and academia, as we talked about. Heavy use on the Eclipse mission. I talked about the Prime 1 mass spectrometer and drill, that Intuitive Machines mission as we go forward with the Hopper and the 4G LTE network demonstration. Our tipping point is a big dollar way of us getting industry participation, especially. Our SBIRs we use for this, and we created what we called a lunar sequential. We have the second one selections coming up very shortly, the second year of selections. And what we've obtained is approval to go a little bit bigger prize award money for these sequentials. They're post phase 2, but we use SBR money that are on the order of $5 million or up to $3 to $5 million or so. We also introduced and are about to release our second opportunity for what we call a luster, lunar surface technology research opportunities. This is using our research grants with our universities and gives them a way to participate in a little bit higher dollar level than our typical grants with them. We have a number of other things. I won't go through them all, but you can kind of read through it. But one other one I'll highlight is a vertical solar array technology solicitation, which we had 5 phase 1 awards. Our intent is, and the idea here is when you're at the lunar poles, one of the poles, by the nature of the inclination of the moon, the sun is pretty much at the horizon almost the entire year, and so it gives you the opportunity, if you go up in your solar array, to make it a vertical solar array, say 10 meters in an autonomous system, then you can generate a substantial amount of power, and that could be mobile. And that's the idea behind those awards that we've given there, that we hope to have a couple of them that we turn into flight demonstrations. And with that, I think, but otherwise, I think I've talked a lot of these things. So the overall nature, though, is just to note that that when we work together across our program portfolios, we have input from the industry, other government agencies, and universities by the nature of the LSI forum. Then we can really be powerful, we think, as we're going forward. Next chart. And then I'll just end on this and see if I think there might be time for a couple questions if people have them. But one way we look at ourselves is kind of what we call by the numbers, and this was FY20 data. We evaluated, this is pretty typical, 3,700 proposals over that last year, fiscal year. Over 900 proposals were selected. We have over 400 active university partnerships with over 100 universities. We have over 140 planned flight demonstrations. We have over 1,400 active technology projects, over 150 patent licenses we issued to companies over this past year. We have over 500 industry collaborators. And if you count a transition as something that after we stopped funding it, but somebody else picked up funding for it, which is a little hard to track, and so this is well understated and takes a little longer to get there, but we've had over 900 of those, I think, very conservatively in the last 10 years. And so with that, I'll pause and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, Jim, great. Fantastic stuff. We do have a few audience questions. We got just a couple minutes left to get to them. So why don't I ask you, let's say this one. So and this comes from some guy named Dan Dumbacher. I don't know, some guy out there. Yeah. How does NASA see the application of autonomy to space along with AI and machine learning? Are there any plans for investment and furthering that technology? And reminder to everybody that we will be talking about autonomy as our last session of the event on Thursday. But go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, it's a good question. We do have really across 3 mission directors, there's investments in autonomy, the science mission director and HEO and ourselves. We have a number of projects that we have planned, including demonstration of multi-rovers on the surface of. We develop rover scout, what we call rover scouts, and in a coordinated manner, then they try to reach areas that we call our extreme access requirements and stuff. So going somewhere where a larger robotic rover couldn't go. So we have that. We also, in the small spacecraft world, and especially on the Earth, in support of Earth science activities, it's another application for autonomy. And actually, I said 3 mission directors, but there's a lot of applications in aero, and especially on UAV and UAS type markets for that. And then HEO's looking at it because that in conjunction with us, we've got some joint activities because what we're going to see is with the plan with the gateway is most of the time it's not occupied. 90% or so is not occupied. And so what you have to do is learn how to operate much more autonomously from the Earth, and especially as we go towards Mars. When we're not quite so far away, it's going to be absolutely essential when we go there. So we see lots of opportunities for that. In fact, I almost forgot to mention, we have 2 research institutes that are 5-year programs, $3 million a year, one of which is led by University of California, Davis, and one is led by Purdue. And it's actually smart habs type activities that we're developing that way.
Excellent, thanks. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. So thank you so much, Jim, for doing this with us. Appreciate it very much. And thank you to Lockheed Martin for sponsoring this segment. And so, Jim, we'll see you next time. Thank you again.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Thanks. Okay, so now everybody, same as before, this session will end. Please click to join our first full session, Commercialization, Finding a Balance. We'll see you over there.